20 upcoming Switch games that will help Nintendo dominate in 2020. The fourth game is Doom Eternal. Release date, March 20th, 2020. The Doom series is back, baby. Blood, guts, flames, demons, hell, everything your parents tried to stop you from enjoying back in the early '90s down in your cousin's basement is now available on the Switch. This sequel to the critically acclaimed reboot from 2016 looks a lot like the last one. But this time, you have a sword. A sword. In space. Fighting demons. The fifth game is Doom 64. Release date, March 20th, 2020. Any Nintendo 64 game showing up on the Switch is a godsend. Doom 64 is launching alongside Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing. The hellish, polygonal shooter tops off the retro Doom collection currently available on the Switch, thus weirdly giving Doom fans everything they ever wanted. The sixth game is Trials of Mana. Line of H's, release date, April 24th. While the Secret of Mana remake was unfortunately lackluster to say the least, Trials of Mana is getting a full 3D remake that looks more than promising. After releasing the Mana collection to great acclaim and bringing the original Trials of Mana for SNES to the West for the first time, there's no doubt this high fantasy JRPG with real-time combat will be a hit. The seventh game is Pokémon Sword and Shield Expansion Pack. Release date, June 2020. Fall 2020. Pokémon Sword and Shield finally brought the beloved monster-catching RPG series to consoles. It wasn't perfect. The game saw a good bit of criticism along with its praise. But Sword and Shield were a big step forward for the series, and now Nintendo is showing its support with a huge DLC package. New clothes, new and old Pokémon, new areas, and even more storylines set in the vast and mysterious Galar region. Nintendo is selling the expansion pass for $30, which will give you access to the Isle of Armor in June, and then the Crown Tundra in fall 2020. The eighth game, Gods and Monsters. Release date, fall 2020. Is this game Breath of the Wild? It sure as hell looks almost exactly like it. But maybe that's being too harsh, or too complimentary, depending on whether you think developers should be aping one of the greatest Nintendo titles of all time. Credit where credit's due, though, the folks behind Gods and Monsters also made Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which was an equally stupefying open-world title from 2018. With a shimmery art style and heavy emphasis on nature imagery, Ubisoft will have its work cut out for itself in distancing this from Zelda. The ninth game, Axiom Verge II. Release date, 2020. Axiom Verge is one of the most true-to-form Metroidvanias out there. Feeling like a spiritual successor to the Metroid series, this action platformer has inspired level design and thrilling gameplay, and it strikes a perfect balance between nostalgia and current-day polish. Last year, the announcement that we'll in fact be getting a sequel this year was made with a cryptic trailer. So not a lot is known, but if it's anything like the first, there's a lot of retro gaming to look forward to. The 10th game, Bravely Default 2. Release date, 2020. This JRPG with its hand-drawn art style first came to Nintendo back in 2014 on the 3DS. It's a little confusing. Bravely Second, and Player from 2016 is actually the sequel to that original title. This one, Bravely Default 2, is a standalone title with a completely new cast of characters that has more of a thematic connection to the first game. This sort of thing is nothing new for Japanese role-playing franchises, especially those that hail from Square Enix. Hell, there are so many interconnected and completely detached Final Fantasy games, it's impossible to keep track anymore. Watch episode 3 for the rest of the games.